It's time now for the morning trade. Coinbase reports its earnings after the bell today. This as we're watching Bitcoin close to 100,000. So let's see what we might hear from Coinbase. Caroline Woods is here to tell us some of the details. Caroline.
Hey there, Nicole. Yes, Coinbase shares up about 4% today ahead of those results. Could be a few reasons why they're higher, not just anticipation of the quarterly results, but as you said, could be riding the momentum that Bitcoin is seeing as it approaches 100,000. We're seeing names like MicroStrategy, which is hugely linked to Bitcoin as well, higher today. There's also this report from the Wall Street Journal that Coinbase has agreed to acquire Deribit. I believe that's correct pronunciation. It's the world's biggest trading platform for Bitcoin and Ether options. It's a $2.9 billion deal, cash and stock, $700 million in cash, 11 million shares of Coinbase A common stock, according to the Wall Street Journal. Coinbase apparently says it will make it the most comprehensive player in the crypto derivatives market, which is a highly profitable segment, and the deal is meant to bolster the company's growth. So could be seeing shares higher in response to that as well. I do think it's important to note Coinbase shares, of course, surged higher after the election, but have been under quite a bit of pressure so far in 2025, down about 17%. Year to date, about 40% off the highs, so have a ways to go to make up for some of those losses. In terms of the numbers we're looking for, today, EPS of $1.85 on revenue of $2.12 billion. That would represent about 30% year-over-year growth. I will say analysts have expressed some caution ahead of these numbers, given what we've already seen from competitors. Rosenblatt actually lowered its trading revenue forecast heading into the print, but did express some optimism in the longer term. They expect a rebound in trading volume in the second half of this year, as they say legislative progress and macro clarity spur increased crypto activity. We'll want to get updates on the stablecoin business, updates on crypto staking. Is it generating more fees from that? I did see an analyst over at Benchmark point out that the key metric to watch for Coinbase is really going to be subscription and services revenue, which includes staking and custodial fees. Points out that growth in that segment is really key to its effort to diversify its revenue streams and reduce its dependence on transaction fees. So a little bit of caution heading into this print from the analyst community, not necessarily seeing that play out, of course, in Coinbase shares today, but there are some other factors at play here as well. But right now they're up almost 4%. And now officially positive for the month of May, at least.
And as the acquirer of nearly $3 billion deal, according to the Wall Street Journal, this crypto options platform that you mentioned, sometimes the acquirer goes down, often, but not today. The optimism is certainly circulating around Coinbase, and you have an administration that most of the folks, when I interviewed them and they were in the crypto world, they were pretty happy to have President Trump's team coming in because they felt the administration would be much more supportive, right?
And that's why we saw Bitcoin surge higher, but we haven't seen it get back to those highs around 110,000. Obviously, it's reapproaching them right now, but I think the big question is if it even hits those highs, does it move higher from there? What's priced in? But there's definitely optimism. We've talked a lot about Bitcoin being a much more stable asset compared to the volatility that we've been used to seeing. There has been some discussion by the likes of Scott Bauer and people like that on the network that say once we start to see these trade deals announced, or Nate Peterson actually was talking about this as well, that we could see Bitcoin move higher on those results as well. We'll see if Coinbase's earnings actually give it a reason to move higher as well. I will say analysts on the whole, I talked about some caution. If you take a look at the breakdown, very split in terms of buys and holds. So not bearish calls out there, but 14 buys, 16 holds.
Right.
Median price target is 254.50 right now. So it does imply some upside here, less than $50 upside though.
All right. Thank you, Caroline Woods. I mean, last winter was the high for this name for Coinbase. It was close to $350 and then hit a recent low of $142. So now what, folks? $204 today. Joe Tigay is with us, portfolio manager, Rational Equity Armor Fund. Joe, and you like what's going on with this deal this morning too, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great deal. You mentioned how usually the acquirer is down on news like this, so the market obviously thinks it's value added to the company, and I absolutely agree. I think it's going to be more trading revenue for them, and I think there's like a higher platform to bring that options market. Of course, talking to an options trader, I'm always interested in options trading. I was trading on Deribit not too long ago, so yeah, so it is. I do think it's a good idea for Coinbase. I do think it's going to add a value to them long term.
Yeah, understood. So when you talk about maybe an example trade on this kind of name, how do you go about this?
Yeah, so I never can take the bigger picture, the bigger market picture out of the trade, and I always view these trades in that context. And I think I'm hopeful that we're in a risk on mode. Now we got the VIX coming back down to 23. It's trying to normalize at a level. It's still at a level. Don't be fooled. It's still at a level where we could see plenty more volatility, but it's trending lower, and that's very very good. I think the market just is looking for good news. There's some catalyst potentially out there for good news. There's cash on the sideline. The market wants to see some risk on, getting some leadership out of tech lately. All good signs for me. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see some more risk on. Bitcoin is like the ultimate risk on play for me. And I think if that does well, Coinbase will do well. So I want to play this name to the upside. I want to buy June options. I want to get into it in June. Give me a little more time to let this play out. I'm looking at the 210, 230 call spread in June. Right now it's around $7. Hopefully by expiration, it'll be 20.
So I wanted to thank you for that example trade and some of your enthusiasm about what's going on. Let's talk about what's going on in the market. I mean, we're losing some of the momentum here. In fact, now 4 sectors are lower: healthcare, real estate, utilities, and also consumer staples. So those are the 4 that are lower. What do you think? We did hear from the Fed yesterday, kept rates unchanged, but we have deal talk today. Some of your thoughts about where we could be headed in this market?
Yeah, so there's lots of uncertainty. I'm hopeful for these deal talks. You just mentioned 4 lower. That seems like a nice rotation. If we're flat, but we got some risk on names higher, I think medium to long term, that's going to be good news for the market. Just seeing some money being put to work in some of the higher beta sectors, which are going to do well if the market goes higher. So that's interesting to note this morning. We'll see if that continues to play out. Yes, there's so many catalysts out there. We're talking about the trade deals. Hopefully they start to come. England would be a very good one to see happen quickly. It's not the biggest one. Hopefully we get good news with China too. Hopefully we get good news with Canada and Mexico soon. But that's one component. But there's also on the domestic side, there's going to be a budget that's going to be coming out soon. I think the market's really anxious about that and looking forward to the possibilities of that. Tax cuts, deregulation, all on the line here. So we're just looking for that to come down. And, the market's just kind of waiting. At some point, the waiting is going to be too much and it's going to cause a little economic damage. So I think the market's really hopeful that something will happen soon. But everyone has said it's going to cause economic damage. Everyone said that it's going to be catastrophic. It hasn't actually showed up in any data yet. So I think the market is just kind of getting ahead of this and just kind of knowing that there's some good news coming down the line and very, very optimistic about the future.
And, I'm hearing folks saying, China needs us more than they need, and I don't know what's true and what's not true. I'm not saying I'm an expert. But for example, I'm seeing now that U.S.-China tariffs force China to seek new energy partners, according to one report. And we've gotten some news of rising unemployment in China. These deals really could propel this market, no? I mean, what do you speculate could happen here? Is there a level, let's say on the S&P 500 or sort of as an insider that you could give us? What are you watching quickly?
Yeah, quickly, just on the S&P 500, I'm watching the 200-day, the 50-day moving averages. We had that death cross, but we've recovered in the S&P 500 above the 50-day moving average. I'd love to see it cross above the 200-day moving average, but I think just some time to let this play out will be fine. Just let this consolidate here at this level while we get these news events. Yes, These rumors are driving a lot of the market right now. I'm just kind of personally waiting for the actual news to come down. We know China and the U.S. are meeting. That's good news, but we don't really know the extent of those meetings, how much is actually going to happen on those meetings, if the tariffs will come off, if they'll increase. That's still all up in the air as of this moment. So yes, I'm waiting for the actual news. But in the meantime, while we're floating between these levels, it just seems prudent to just use this volatility to my advantage. Take a little off the table when the market's having a great run of a couple days, put a little bit more on the table when the market's pulling back. Be short of any concrete news here. I think that's the way to play this market.
All right, Joe Tigay, great to see you, portfolio manager of the Rational Equity Armor Fund. Thank you so much.